Hey guys, welcome back to the Socially Awesome channel. Elise Smith here, and I'm very excited today to be bringing another special guest to you. This lady, I'm telling you, when I met with her for our Connect call before we started to plan for this podcast episode, I was really excited to talk with her about her being the founder of the Grief22, because I've shared a little bit on social media recently about some of the grief my own son is going through, and I really felt connected with you. So today I have got Jessica Storch with me, and she is going to tell you all about how she serves people with the grief guide and navigating through their grief journey. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yes, we actually got connected, guys, on a, I think in a Facebook group, right? Yes. Facebook group for entrepreneur women. And like I said, I connect calls with a lot of women to be guests on the podcast. And your connect call was the timing that I needed. So I'm very excited to hear so much more about you today. So tell me a little bit about, what motivated you to do this grief work. And I know this is going to be a very vulnerable podcast. I appreciate you using your own grief to, help other people and make that impact, because I think that's really important. But I just want to let everyone know that you've had your own journey, and share that with us. What's that look like for you?
Absolutely. So November 22nd, 2020, my oldest son, 17 at the time, passed in a car accident, a very tragic accident. His girlfriend was with him. They had dated per se since middle school, so very, very close. We knew we would have her forever. And so that evening, my younger son, the news got to my youngest son immediately. And before anyone could even tell us what had happened, he called me and said, "Mom, Rob's been in an accident. Have you talked to him?" And I said, "No." And I called and got no answer, which typical, right? 17-year-old boy, no answer. I called his girlfriend, no answer. I called her again, no answer. I knew they were together. She always picks up my calls, right? If I'm calling her, she knows there's something going on. And I immediately knew like something was really, really wrong. And it was complete chaos, right? In our house. My husband was not my husband at the time we were together. Christopher, my younger son, my husband and I jumped in the truck because we were an hour plus from where we knew they were. And somehow, some way through like all of this, we looked like we were living in a Lifetime movie. That's what I felt like, right? I was watching it from the outside. We connected with Robbie's girlfriend's parents, and I was on the phone with her father, who could barely even get out to me what was going on. And he certainly couldn't verbalize it. But all of a sudden, like it hit me, like I just knew. And I said, "He didn't make it. Are you telling me he didn't make it?" And I remember him saying to me, "Jess, it's really, really bad." And then it was like, I just knew, right? As a mom, I just knew what that was like. But in that very, very moment that it clicked for me, right? I had that conscious awareness that, oh my God, he's gone. I had this most euphoric feeling that, oh my God, he is in a place that is amazing. Like I could feel that for him. So my grief journey has looked a little different. It has surely been as painful and as gut-wrenching and awful as everyone else's. But my connection to, and still to him, right, in a different realm. And what I believe in terms of what your life path looks like and what purpose is like here. And I was able to really stand grounded in that. And honestly, like I've said this so many times, in his passing, he blessed me with this wonderful gift of just resilience and courage, really to just kind of own my own journey. And I immediately, like it wasn't even a thought for me, I just immediately started writing about it every day, openly and very vulnerably. And I talked about all the things. And for me, one of the most important things has been to just honor and celebrate him in whatever way we felt necessary at that moment. You know, it could be that we ate cheesecake for his birthday, or we went to his favorite restaurant, or we included, so he raced motocross all of his life. So we have his favorite helmet that will probably always be incorporated into our family pictures and whatnot. So I've transitioned through all of this, right? Each of those steps along the way since the end of 2020, to a place that not only speaks and writes openly about that, but connects individually with individuals on their own grief journey. As I tag myself as a guide, but really it's a support and someone who gets it as a mom, right? We have that stereotypical, you've lived through the greatest loss. And I have, like, I have lived it myself. I've watched my son live that, my husband, my family. So it just gives me, I think, a perspective that really just helps when I connect with other people that are living their own grief journey.
That's it. That's just, it's miraculous to me. It takes me back a second. You know, I started already getting a little teary when you talked about it, because, you know, I can't imagine that grief as a mom. You know, we've all lost people that are close to us, but to lose your child is a lot. But the fact that you were able to really feel that euphoric feeling you were talking about and say, you know, how can he live on and continue to impact people through you? And that's like, oh, like you said, I'm getting a euphoric feeling of like,
Yeah.
Amazing. That's exciting, because you were able to take the most tragic thing that'll probably ever happen to you and turn it into something that can help other people. And I love that. So what, are you full-time entrepreneur right now?
No. So I actually work a full-time job.
Right.
So I had been doing adjunct work as well, remotely. So teaching one night a week a semester. I guess at this point I've made the decision to just step away from that, because this is really filling that in. So any spare time I have is spent around whatever I have going on with the Grief22, and connecting with those individuals and working with those individuals who really are at a place that we fit well together, and I can help them.
Oh, I love that. Well, the reason I ask is because I thought you know, I was like, I think she still is in human resources, right?
Yes.
But I love that you've carved out this special, like you said, all your free time pretty much, but like you've carved out how that shows the importance of this to you and for him and for other people, because ultimately you're doing this for other people. It's helped you in your own grief journey, but how are you able to impact by doing that? So tell me a little bit of what it looks like to work with you. I know you've got a program, and you know, through the program you help those who have lost people find happiness again, and just have that positive, fulfilling life, because ultimately you helping people through Robbie is fulfilling for you and fulfilling his legacy. But what does that look like for you? I know you've got like a 12-week program and some different things that you offer people. There's someone out there that needs help going through their grief. So walk us through what that looks like.
Sure, absolutely. So I run a 12-week program. I call it the Grief22 program. And there are some pillars within that. And those are really around, number one, it's a person who's given themselves permission to grieve, because I think that is so important. And if you want to work through that and you're not allowing yourself to do that, then we need to do some work up front. But the program is really created and designed around that. So a person that's really ready to take that on, and it's work and it's hard and you're so vulnerable, and I so get that from the bottom of my heart. But if you can take that step, right? And that's not immediate. We can't just walk in and throw open the doors and say, okay, here we go. We're going to take this on. And I really like to learn about the person that they've lost, because I think that's so important, right? Like, we can't move to a place in the program where we're going to honor that person and celebrate that person, if I don't really understand who that person was, if it's your son or your husband or who that is for you. So there are a couple things I always like to focus on. Mindset, right? That commitment, and not to say you're ever not going to experience the ups and downs or have mornings you don't want to get out of bed or do the things that you even need to do, brush your teeth, right? But it's just that working towards that solid commitment of staying in a space that you're like, okay, I want to move forward. In my world, we're never leaving that loved one behind, ever, 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 ever. And I talk so openly about the celebration, but I think it's also important. And I'm very vocal and loud in my celebration. You'll see my son all over my house. You will see him included in all of our events in some way, somehow. So obviously 2-2 for us is significant. So there's a whole host of things. Robbie was born on the 22nd. He passed on the 22nd. I was 22 when I had him. He and his brother are 12 months and 10 days apart. If you add them up, they're 22, right? So 22. So my life, you can see, like, just in what I call the Grief22 and everything, he's so incorporated into that. You'll see in my logo and everything that I do, the color purple is very prominent. That's because that color is the purple color is associated and was in high school with Robbie. What's really funny about that is it wasn't Robbie's favorite color. It was his girlfriend's. And like, only we knew that, right? But we knew that. So purple stands out for us. Now, if you're a mom or a wife or a dad or a sister or anything, and you are the person that says, no, I just want to hold that in my heart, then we find a way to hold that in your heart. You don't have to be loud and obnoxious like I am, like here it all is. And it's really finding the keys to what that looks like and just becoming consistent in your practices. And I have a lot of woo-woo in me. So, we're going to connect on some level of like intuition and spiritual connection and that sort of thing. I also do energy work. I will openly talk about it, but I don't a lot of the times lead with that. It's just something that kind of comes along with it. So there's a host of variations of things that will come into play in the program.
I love that. And I'm sitting here thinking back to, just different people I've lost in my life and how I've celebrated them. And, I think very often people, just from what I've seen, maybe my husband do or my own family do, is when we lose someone, the first thing they want to do is like get rid of every sign of that person, right? And it's sad because years later they regret that. And because a lot of times I think it's not, they didn't work through the grief, or that's what was easiest for them at that time. And maybe they'll for a minute and but they don't work through it. But I have these two ugly plaid flannel they're men's, big and tall, so they're huge, little jackets. And my husband likes to keep our our house on like 55 degrees. It's always cold in here. So even though I live in Mississippi and it's 106 outside, I always have usually some sort of jacket on. Today I've just got a sleeve, but like almost always. And people, I've taken, been in my stories and stuff on social media before with these jackets on, and my husband's like, those are so ugly. You've got to like, come on now. They're like bright green but they were my grandfather's.
Oh yeah.
My grandfather passed. My grandma, when she finally was ready, she went through his clothes and like she gave my brother his tuxedo and different things. And my husband and my grandfather were very similar in height. So my husband only ever got to meet my grandfather maybe like 3 times before he passed. But my grandma was like, Clayton's probably the only one that could wear these clothes if he wants any of them. My husband kept a couple things, and I found them in his closet years later. I'm like, he's never even worn these. And I put it on, and I'm telling you, I was just like, this is the most comfortable thing. And it's just because it reminds me of my grandpa, And it took me years to grieve the loss of him. I was very close to him, but I do see how, people just disposing of those things. Maybe I would have regretted that. I would have regretted that years later if I would have turned grandma down for that. So I love that you help people and that you, like you said, you are obnoxious with it. Like, I love that because
Yeah.
it keeps their spirit alive, and their spirit
Absolutely.
is a part of you and a part of your family and everyone who he impacted on this earth, you know? So I love that.
Thank you.
So tell me, man, one of the questions I almost always ask in an interview, I don't even know that it applies here because there's so many hardships with what you do, but I always ask, like, what's one of the hardest things you've gone through as an entrepreneur? I don't even know if that would be applicable here because you work with very hard topics with people and
Yeah.
but what is one of the hardest things that you've done?
I think when initially when I took this on, it was just a natural progression with me. And when I physically created the Grief22 and I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this, it's going to look different, right? I'm actually going to openly offer these services. It's not just going to be people that I connect with, and I'm going to have a social media presence and that sort of thing. So right then and there, it took, and at the same time, I was working on planning a speaking event around grief, and that put grief in my face almost 24 hours a day for weeks on end. And even though, like, I'm so committed to that mindset, I was like, holy effing shit.
Yeah.
This is a lot. Sorry for the language.
No, I drop it all the time, girl. I was glad you listened rather than me. Go ahead.
But because it takes you in a place and just pings you over and over again repeatedly, right? Like, I'm writing about Rob, I'm talking to other people, I'm planning this event, we're talking all these things, and it's this hamster wheel in your mind that you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I was exhausted. I was moody. I think my husband will still tell you that I'm moody from it. But it's just, I think that was the hardest part, like transitioning to it being a true service offer.
Yeah.
It just changes the dynamic around it. And really opens you up to experiencing that, the volume of time even that you're working even directly with individuals. It's not even your own grief, but it's other people's. So that was something I had to concentrate really hard around, just being able to continuously set boundaries and disconnect from that when I check out of those places or when I'm done working in the business for the day. Like, I need to really just separate from that.
Got it. Oh, but that makes so much sense. Like, just because your niche or the people that you help, it requires so much vulnerability that that could, and I mean, like, I do social media marketing, right? So I'm on camera a lot and that's physically exhausting, but I could see vulnerability is like energy draining sometimes. It's like, I've given everything from me to out into the universe today. I need to like take a break. So I could absolutely see how that would be, you know, like just, I would be paralyzed. Like, I would have paralysis. Like, I am doing nothing but Netflix and chilling today because I need a break. Like, I need a break. So I can totally get that. Okay. This is such good stuff because I know, like we talked about in our Connect call, everyone's lost someone, right? Everyone's lost someone. Not everyone's lost a child, but everyone's lost someone. And there's probably people out there that lost someone 10 years ago and they still haven't processed it.
Absolutely.
Like, there's trauma. And I mean, I shared with you about my son losing a very, close friend this year and how I watched my teenager grieve, which I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. I mean, the school provided some services. Of course, we looked into private services. But honestly, he just kept telling me, like, Mom, I just want to be left alone. I just need time. That's what he kept telling me. I need time. I just need time. I just need time. So, I mean, it showed his strength in so many ways, but, man, this is such good stuff. So tell me, I know you've got a Facebook group, right? Where people can, so first question, because I'll start getting ahead of myself here. Where can I connect with you? Because I know someone out there listening wants to connect. They need help, processing their grief. Maybe it's not even for them. Maybe they have a parent or a relative that needs to process grief and they want to pass your info along. So, like, where should they connect with you?
So most everything of mine you will find on Facebook. It is absolutely rooted to my personal Facebook. I do have a business page and a group, so you can actually access me through any of those, and I'm completely open, right? If you come to my personal page and you want to send me a message, absolutely feel free. I will take your message there. I will take it. And it's all, my personal page obviously is my name. My group is the Grief22 support. And my business page is just the Grief22. So the numbers 22. And so honestly, any of theirs there. I have a website as well, which is the grief22.online. So I'm pretty accessible. I'm pretty easy to reach. My phone number is on there. You can text me. It's any way possible.
And when you, like, I know you said you have a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
So is that somewhere that, you know, you work with people regularly? Is that somewhere that you just share resources? What's in your group? Because I will link it, guys, below in the show notes. I'll link, you know, all of her links to connect with her on Facebook, Instagram, and then of course her website. But for anyone that wants to join your community, what does that look like in there?
So right now I am very much in the stage of nurturing that group.
Okay.
So I didn't open it at first, or I did, but I didn't give it a lot of attention. And actually in the last couple of weeks, I've shifted to that. So it will absolutely be a place that you are finding a lot of people, probably most everyone there is currently on a grief journey or has been on a grief journey. I tend to attract a lot of parents who have lost children just because that's their connection to me. Definitely, I very much push that group to let's talk about the good things. That doesn't mean that the bad things don't exist, but like, let's move to that space where we're really just honoring and celebrating. And if you're having a bad day and you have something to unpack, then let's unpack that. But, and we don't have to unpack it in the group. We can do that personally, but it's just a safe space that you are connected with others who have experienced loss, who are experiencing grief. I wrote, I think it was just yesterday, I keep getting this question, like, how many children do you have if you're the parent of a child that's passed? And I think you get to do things like answer that in a way that whatever you feel like in that moment, if you have the capacity to talk about it, then include that child. If you're like, no, I just want to say I have one child and walk away from it, you get to do that. And nobody gets to have an expectation around that. You get to do whatever feels best for you. So I often write about those kinds of things. Like it's really, my perspective is to really own your own journey and don't let anyone influence that. So I really just try to foster and facilitate that through my group.
Man, that's good stuff, because I wouldn't have even thought of that, you know, necessarily as we chatted today. Yeah. But I have had, I don't even know, I guess it's come up in conversations like, oh, I have 3 kids. How many kids do you have? And I've had people that have said, I have 4, you know, one is a rainbow baby or is in heaven, however they know to describe that loss. And I know a lot of women that have experienced that loss.
Yes.
Wow. And that's still grief. That's still a grief. I mean, you're still grieving the loss of, you know, a child, and like, oh, that's such good stuff. So, okay, guys, as you're listening, jump in Jess's group. I mean, get this information. I know someone out there listening is going to need her services or know someone that needs her services. So make sure that you connect with her. Give her, you know, even just to pop over and say, hey, you know, your interview spoke to me, because I think it's just very unique and it's something that's very needed. So I just want to say thank you for just creating it, because there's too many people out there that don't seek that help. And then what comes from not getting that help?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Or tragedy is all that could come from it. So oh, this was so good. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today and just being being here and being vulnerable. I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It as much as I work with other people, it is also so rewarding and healing for me. And I love to talk about my son, like again, the obnoxious way. So yeah, like I love this. So I absolutely appreciate you.
Did I see 22 on his motocross bike?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had to mention that because I was like, I was waiting on you to say that. And I mean, there were so many other 22s. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, wow. But yes, that was his motocross number 2, which is super cool. I saw that on your website. So that's so cool.
Yes.
Oh, well, all right, guys, make sure you check the show notes for all of the details to connect with her and to get in her group. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you make it simple, you make it social, and you make it awesome. Bye, guys.